What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Goon Squad. This is your boy, Mr. Squad. Before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit the bell icon so you know when the new videos go up. In today's video, we're going to be serving up some ProRevenge, so let's get started. The classic cheating girlfriend. Girlfriend F someone else. I kicked her out. Background. Me and my ex had been together just about a year and had decided to move in together for this most recent semester of uni, when we began to have a lot of fights and were on rocky terms for a little while. In this time, she would take advantage of my insecurities and my kindness just so she would get more attention, while not giving any back to me. Most of our conversations at this point were apologetic, or were trying to fix these problems. Or at least I thought. Whenever I tried to talk to her in person, she would get hyper defensive and too emotional to deal with the facts that I was telling her. Thus, she would leave and message me over Discord or Snapchat saying these horrible things to me, only meant to tear me down, adding in a few, maybe we should break up, for good measure. One night, I had enough and said that it would be best to take a break to try and figure out, from a third person perspective, what was wrong in her relationship. She took this as breaking up. Not 2 days later, she had brought someone else over to her apartment to... This decimated me, leading me to have a mental and emotional breakdown while they were having in the other room. I had mutual friends get me out of her place for the night where I explained our situation to them. They hated her for what she had done to me, and all of them cut contact with her right there on the spot, which I later found out was a major hit to her ego. But that's not even the best part. Then, the guy she effed came to me and apologized for what happened. He explained he felt bad for what he did, and that he was told we had been separate for 2 weeks and was doing that the whole time. And he came to tell me because she's not going to F his friend. Of course, rage ensues, but for some reason, not towards him. But a plan did pop into my head. College student apartments, at least around here, all sign in mid-February, and I took my chance. I gathered a group of 4 of her once friends, and we all signed the lease together, kicking her out of the apartment entirely. She has until the end of the month to find somewhere else to live. So I got out of this toxic relationship with all her friends, and I kicked her out of her own apartment. So I hope that dick tasted nice. Oh, and after her best friend. She deserves worse. I don't even know what to say to that situation. She deserves a lot worse, but I'm not really even happy about the revenge. I think I'm just more happy for the OP that he's out of that relationship before he put a ring on it. Level 3 crooks get obliterated by level 99 boss. Don't commit crimes you're too stupid for. The OP for this mentioned that English was not his first language, but he wrote this really well. I'm just going to be changing a few lines here and there just to make it flow a little bit better. This didn't happen to me, but to my boss. He's the district attorney in a larger city in Germany, and he has a device that tells the police where he is and if he's in danger. The participants are boss, 5 youngsters, and the police. One day, he was driving home from work, and suddenly 2 boys, 17 and 16, jumped in front of his car, forcing him to stop. My boss was really scared, thinking they want to take revenge on him because he put many people in jail, and immediately pressed a button on his device to inform the police. The police immediately rushed with all available uniforms. The boys shouted at him, accusing him of trying to kill them. The other 3 boys ran to the scene, also shouting at my boss that they're going to call the police and he's going to lose his license. Then, one of them says if he gives them all his money, they would leave him alone. At this point, my boss decided to serve some spicy revenge on these assholes. Knowing that every police officer available is rushing to the scene and he only needs to play for time, he immediately agreed, but under one condition. They all need to sign a written agreement saying that he paid them and they are not going to press charges or tell the police. Those dumbasses agreed. So he wrote the contract and everyone signed it. After they handed him the paper, they demanded the money, but my boss just laughed, stating that no one is going to believe them since he had written proof that what they had done was highly illegal and that they were going to jail. Not to mention that the police was coming. The police came from everywhere. He couldn't resist smiling. They were looking like they had seen a ghost. One of the smart boys thought that this paper needed to vanish, so this dummy decides to rip it out of my boss's hands in front of the police. As they would realize later, this was their biggest mistake. Then they tried to escape from the police, but boys 1, 3, and 5 were caught. The police thought they wouldn't get to know the other 2 unless somebody snitched, Well, they didn't need a snitch because they all signed the paper with their real names. So the police got the other two as well. Fast forward to court. Do you remember that I told you that boy 3 made a big mistake? Well, here in Germany, there's a law from the Nazi era still in place that gets you a minimum sentence of 5 years when you rob a motorist. Boy 3 and 5, both above 18, got 6 years in adult prison, also because of their criminal history. Boy 1 and 2 got 3 years in juvenile detention, and boy 4 was lucky with only community service. All in all, my boss actually didn't need to do much. They destroyed their lives mostly on their own. This very short, instant revenge happened on my way to work today, at the dark, groggy, dreary hour of 3 a.m. AD, asshole driver. To set the tone, I live in California, land of under-engineered freeways and bad drivers. I was taking a junction from one freeway to another. It's 2 lanes for about half a mile, then very slowly merges into one for another half, before finally merging into its destination. I am cruising through, empty, even for 3 in the morning. As the lanes begin to merge down, an asshole driver rolls into the narrowing space, headlights off, eyes glued to his phone, causing me quite a scare. I honk repeatedly to no avail as the gap is rapidly narrowing, no time for me to stop safely. Then I see it. My solution. I have an unopened energy drink can, the big ones, in my cup holder. Not even 2 seconds after him pulling alongside me, the can soars the gaps between the cars, right into the passenger window. The sound of broken glass rings out as his car screeches to a halt. I hope asshole driver learned his lesson not to text and drive. Also, turn your headlights on. I would have been able to avoid that shit if he had. I'm trying to figure out who's really in the wrong here, because are you able to just throw stuff into other people's cars? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I count this as a nuclear revenge story, but not in the traditional sense. This happened many years ago. My older sister had this awful neighbor who had a serious hard-on for my sister's Siamese cat. I'll call neighbor CN for crazy neighbor. No relation to crazy horse. Sister is sis. Me, self-explanatory. Crazy neighbor was a black-haired, plump, 40-something divorcee who annoyed everyone in the neighborhood. She had zero understanding of boundaries and liked to come over to people's homes, barge in and look, snoop, around, opening drawers and cabinets and touching their stuff. Once, she even went into someone's fridge and grabbed herself a ginger ale, then got mad when the homeowner took it back. If you left your door, front or back, unlocked for more than 10 minutes, chances were she'd just come right in. She stole yard decorations from other people's yards, and had been caught on more than one occasion pocketing something she'd snagged off a mantle or table of a house she'd invaded. And she would always throw a tantrum when she got busted. Cops had been called on her many times, but she was good at being pathetic, so most people didn't press charges. Unfortunately, this made her bolder. Basically, she was the entitled bitch of the neighborhood. Sis was, unfortunately, one of her favorite victims. She'd come over without calling, barge her way in, and ask, demand, to see Sister's cat, telling Sis how beautiful he was and how much she'd wanted a cat just like him. Sis, being rather non-confrontational, would let her see the cat, who didn't like the woman, then make her leave. Crazy neighbor never wanted to leave and had to basically be pushed out the door. Oh, and she despised me because I wouldn't let her in when I answered the door, nor would I tolerate her BS in any way if she got past my sister. Crazy neighbor was obsessed with the cat and offered to buy him many times. But sis loved that cat. He'd been the runt of the litter and rejected by his mom. My sister had taken him and bottle fed him, mothered him, and saved his life. He wasn't a pet, he was her child. So sis, of course, always said no. This royally pissed off crazy neighbor. One day, the cat got out. He wasn't an outdoor cat, so sis and I immediately started looking for him. We were checking the bushes and behind the flower pots in her backyard when we heard a very distinctive yowl, one of pure rage, followed by a very human shriek of pain coming from crazy neighbor's house. Suddenly, the doggy door on crazy neighbor's back door slams open and outruns my sister's cat, his tail and one rear paw covered in what smelled like hair bleach. I'm allergic to bleach and immediately recognized the smell as he passed me, dashing past us into Sis's house. Next thing you know, crazy neighbor's back door slams open and out she comes, cursing up a blue streak. Ragged claw marks adorned her left cheeks, and one of her hands had a deep bite wound that had completely saturated one of the gloves, the kind one gets with any hair coloring kit she was wearing, and running down her hand and arm. Turned out, when the cat had gotten out, Crazy Neighbor had grabbed him, took him inside, then tried to use hair bleach to bleach the brown out of his tail and paws in order to change his appearance so she could keep him. Unfortunately for her, she didn't know shit about Siamese cats and just how violent they can be. They were originally temple guardian cats for a reason. The moment Crazy Neighbor put the bleach on the cat's tail, he went absolutely berserk, letting out that yowl of rage we'd heard, clawing up Crazy Neighbor's face and sinking his fangs deep into her hand. She pushed herself between the bushes and began yelling. No, not yelling, shrieking. She shrieked that Sis's cat had wandered into her kitchen while she was cooking, and when she tried to attacked her for no reason. Clearly this was total BS. Crazy Neighbor then proceeds to call Sis the N-word several times. She's half black, an effing half-breed wetback slut. I'm half Hispanic. We have different dads. She screamed that my sis was stupid for keeping such a dangerous animal, and that my sis would be paying all her medical bills. She then got right in my sister's face, pushed my sister hard in the chest with her uninjured hand, saying that she was calling animal control and intended to have that thing put down. Crazy Neighbor opened her mouth to say, shriek, some more, but my sis, after hearing the last statement and without one word of warning, hauled off and decked her. She landed on her butt in the grass, now clutching her left eye. Sis then loudly suggested Crazy Neighbor go screw herself with a hot curling iron, then ran inside to find her poor cat while I called the cops. The whole thing from start to finish lasted only about 5 minutes. Sis found him hiding in the laundry room and quickly cleaned him off in the sink. Meanwhile, Crazy Neighbor is still on her ass in her backyard, howling like a banshee until the cops arrive. I told them what happened, and they later talked to my sister after she tended to her cat, who gave her the same story I did, even admitting to hitting Crazy Neighbor, in self-defense of course. It didn't hurt her case that Crazy Neighbor had left a bloody handprint on my sister's shirt when she shoved her. Crazy Neighbor, of course, told them something entirely different. Her story was that she was about to bleach her hair when my sister's cat came in and attacked her. She also said both Sis and I attacked her too. I apparently kicked her in the stomach after Sis punched her, but the cops found no evidence of bruising, and the scratches on her face kind of masked her swelling eye. I also think cops turned a blind eye to it, pun intended. Since there was a clear blood trail leading into Crazy Neighbor's open back door, cops felt they had probable cause to go in. I think if Crazy Neighbor had been paying more attention, she'd have refused them entry. The bloody trail led to a sink in the first floor bathroom. Blood, cat fur, a bleach applicator, and the box it came in were in the sink and on the floor. The cat's collar was in the garage. Crazy Neighbor kept trying to play the victim, but the cops didn't buy it. She got arrested and my sister pressed charges for theft and assault. Crazy Neighbor also got nabbed for possession of stolen goods. Cops found a bunch of DVD players and CD players still in their boxes, sitting on her coffee table and in the spare room next to her bathroom. And she had a bunch of prescription drug bottles with other people's names on her kitchen counter. Turned out she'd also been stealing neighbors' painkillers when she'd visited them. And, since she was a renter, the property owner gave her the boot for breach of contract. She went to jail and had to pay for the cat's vet bill. He was okay, but a bit traumatized, and had a yellow patch on his butt, paw, and tail for several months. Crazy Neighbor's hand got infected from the cat bite, and it turned out it had also caused tendon and nerve damage as well. Moral of the story, stay out of people's houses. And have the common sense not to mess with a cat named Lucifer. I think relationship revenge stories are probably my favorite, and this one definitely cuts deep. Basically, I was with this girl for almost 5 years, and we loved each other a lot, planned a life together, all that jazz. And when I was in my second year of university, a new guy started at her work, and I instantly got bad vibes. She told me they were friends, but I had assumptions. A few weeks later, I found out they hooked up, and I broke it off with her, but stayed in sort of minimal contact. I found out through friends that this guy used her, and she wanted me back, but I cut contact. Fast forward 2 years later, I moved into new student housing, and guess what? My ex was my roommate. I swear I couldn't make this shit up. She lived in the room opposite mine, and at this point, I'd had her blocked for 2 years. We started speaking again, and I told her everything she wanted to hear, Although I didn't believe a word of it, I was just lying to make her fall for me. I knew at this point she loved me, and she would tell me all the time. This is where I sprung my attack. I was speaking and sleeping with a few other girls, but never at my place, and my ex didn't know. She thought we were getting back together, as I had led her to believe that's the way we were going. At the moment that she loved me the most, I brought one of my other girls around and basically had loud sex with her. My ex broke down, and the next day I told her I loved this other girl and was just using my ex for sex. She dropped out of uni and moved out, even though she tried to fix us for like a year afterwards. I basically destroyed her self-confidence. She went from being really pretty to putting on a lot of weight and messing up her education. I'm confessing this because I feel bad about it now, but at the time she cheated on me, when I loved her, I swore revenge. Revenge which was mine in the end. I'm not sure who I'm supposed to feel bad for in this situation. I know cheating is bad, but that was just brutal. I'm an athletic gay guy and always have been. I was also born and raised in Texas, so you can imagine some of the going-ons in my younger years when being homosexual was less accepted. This was a little over 10 years ago. Freshman year, I'm on the basketball team. I'm not good, not great, just average. The team also takes up a class period, and some days we have to study instead of practice. One of the kids on the team, M, would constantly give me shit for being gay, calling me a faggot, a queer, and all of the usual slurs. I, always being a pretty amiable guy and extremely slow to action, accepted his insults with open arms. Although I wasn't the star player, among people who knew me, I made sure my nickname was the Fag. I'd answer yes to every "Does ass taste good?" or "Do you have a body count?" I never let it show, but his constant disrespect towards me and other people, including teachers, really got to me. He would harass my friends, pick on the boys, catcall and make lewd comments to the girls. He was the kind of kid who'd do a fake "yes sir" to a teacher who was getting onto him about something. That's when a little birdie told me his dad had died 3 years ago, and his mom was an alcoholic. Despite the fact that I now had this knowledge, I held on to it until I had my chance. M liked to shove people around, but he never did me because I was pretty popular and matched him physically. Like I said, that didn't stop him from picking on people close to me. I started preparing for the fight I knew would come, working bags, learning footing, all that good stuff. After 3 months of preparation, I felt ready. He came upon me in the bathroom, talked some smack I don't remember, there were a few of his buddies. Perfect. Remember how I said his dad died? Okay, daddy issues, can I call you that? Is not having one really considered a daddy issue? By the way, why are you so fixated on gay sex? Why do you ask so many questions? Do you want to try it? Or was that the last thing your dad did to teach you how to suck? Admittedly, not the best as I type it out, but mean though. This got him enraged. All the better. He charged at me through the narrow part of the bathroom. My back was to the wall and he was moving too fast. I got out of the way and he harmlessly flung himself against the wall. Harmlessly for him and me. Well, not for long. He had to shift his weight. I, to his side, already had done so. It was a one-punch KO to the side of the jaw. This kid had never been in a real fight before. It only took me raising a middle finger at the 3 friends he had brought with him to make them reconsider their dedication to the mission at hand. Next, I kicked him in the face while he was down 4 times. My shoes were smeared with blood. I kicked him in the balls a fair few times after that, spat onto the back of his head and walked away. I never talked to him again. I never cared how he was doing, but I had seen his face and it certainly wasn't the one he had been born with. Naturally, word of the fight spread around. I got in some big trouble, suspension, but the motto, don't mess with the spread around real quick. As far as I know, nobody ever did. Alright, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, because I definitely did. Comment below and tell me which revenge story was your favorite, or how you would have handled it. Don't forget, I post daily, so make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Join the Goon Squad so you don't miss anything, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.